Hello. Welcome back, or welcome. We're in Ravens Escapees. I am Sue. Oh my goodness, my hair again. You're a hostess here on Ravens Escape Crafts. If you're new here, welcome. If you are not new, welcome back. Oh my goodness. So I hope everybody's doing good this Wednesday. I got my blankie on again today, and we're just gonna snuggle in and work on. Shocker. More. So I'm down to. I have 2 balls left, and I have to finish this one. So that's 7 more. So we're getting there. So we're not gonna get done today. There's no way. My little nitty fingers aren't going to do it. But, so happy Wednesday. I hope you all are doing well. What are you all working on? I wonder if, I know I have a couple subscribers now. Are any of you crafters? Or any of you into yarn or other crafts? I said I do other stuff too. I haven't done much on this channel. I've been focusing mostly on yarn, but I do color. I do make soap. I make wax melts. I make beaded pens and keychains. I do paint by number. I do diamond painting. And, I've, of course, been focusing a lot on crochet and knitting on here. And once we get this done, hopefully we're going to have some more fun. We're trying to get these dishcloths knitted up. And once they're done, then we're going to go back to having fun and doing some fun projects. I do need to make a witch hat because I ran out of the one color. I sold out on my Etsy store, so I need to make the one. I'll show it to you when I get there because that'll take me a minute. But I love making witch hats, and that will be a nice break from these washcloths. And then we should probably make some Halloweeny stuff, and it's time to work on some more Christmas stuff. I know I showed you some of the Christmas things that I made for Christmas in July, but I have some more. I got a bunch more Christmas yarn, and I'm not 100% sure what I want to make with all of them. But if you are crafters, I know it's July. It's toward the end of July. It's time to start thinking about making your Christmas projects because it takes us a minute to make them, and people start, and for those of us that have shops, it does take, people do start shopping. Usually I start getting orders for Halloween. I just got one. So a lady in Colorado, and if you're watching, thank you, ordered 3 witch hats. So those got shipped out yesterday. And I do tend to start getting Halloween orders. Usually, this one's a little early, but I usually start getting toward the middle of August. Of course now, a lot of places have this summerween this year, so and witch hats I sell all year round. Those people buy all the time, which I absolutely love, because I love making them, and I think they're super fun. I love wearing them. I love making them. I love all things witch hats. And I just think they're fun, and I love all the new, there's so many, cool witch activities anymore. The different places have witching days where everybody dresses as witches, and I know the one distillery near me, they have Witches Night Out. I love that. And they have all sorts of crafters there that sell witchy stuff, and then they have, of course, drinks and things like that. I should really do it one year. I should go there as a crafter instead of as a participant. Um, but there's lots of stuff like that anymore that I see that I really think is fun. And, people have been more, mainstream with witchy stuff and witchcraft, and I absolutely love it. I think it's fun, and it's not because anybody. I mean, I could go on a rant all day long about witchcraft, but the truth of the matter is that, maybe I will. Maybe that's what we're gonna do today. That was not what I planned, but what do you think? Should we delve into witchcraft? Um, I actually have a cool, interesting story about witchcraft. So, my my ancestors, we discussed this a little bit the other day, were called they're Pennsylvania Dutch, which is basically they were German people that moved to Pennsylvania, and they were, of course, the German word for German is Deutsch. So when they were telling people that they were Deutsch, they thought they meant Dutch, which they weren't. They were German. But so then and then a lot of Germans moved to this area of Pennsylvania, and so they ended up becoming called the Pennsylvania Dutch, and they came here as to get away from religious persecution that they were dealing with in Europe. So one of the things, and this is a lesser known thing that's interesting, and if you hear about it, you should really look it up. There's some really good books and some really interesting information about this. Is one of the lesser known things about the Pennsylvania Dutch and why they came here under religious persecution is because they believed in what they called, now this is not the original name for them, but here they ended up calling them powwow doctors, okay, which they of course took from the Native Americans, okay, and take that as you want, you know what I mean. I'm not going to get into that part, but they called themselves powwows, and I do not know what they were called originally. I don't know the origin story of that, but here's an interesting witchcraft story. So now the Pennsylvania Dutch were generally some sort of a Protestant religion, being either like Lutheran. I know some were UCC, United Church of Christ, things like that. But they were of Protestant background, but they also believed in powwow doctors, which was, and I guess there still are people that do the practice of powwow, and it's basically using. And like I said, if you're interested in it, there's some really good books about this. There's some really good out there. There's some really good information on the internet about it that you can look into. I read a couple books about this, but they use natural stuff, but sort of like, so okay, so one of their main things is they use like a rose quartz, okay, and that is their tool to find the bad stuff in you. You know what I mean? So they take like a rose quartz and they hold it, and they go over it, and they feel that the energy, they can find the bad energy, that like what's wrong with you if you have an ailment, and then like they cleanse the rose quartz in purified for lack of a better term, holy water, but it's not like Catholic holy water. They bless the water, and then they cleanse the stones between people and stuff like that. They also use a lot of natural like herbal remedies or things like that to cure different ailments, pains, take things away. It definitely has witchcrafty undertones. However, these people are Protestant. They're not, you know, witchcraft gets such a bad connotation. You know, people always like, oh, witchcraft is the devil, is this the devil. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. You know, even regular Wiccan, you know, there's a lot of people that are, that, that practice active witchcraft and are many different religions, all sorts of religions. Because the thing that most people don't understand about, now we're talking, I've only ever delved into white witchcraft, or nature witchcraft is what I consider it, which is all about positivity, is all about healing, good energies, things like that. So, but people are all different religions that practice nature witchcraft. And, you know, it's really not, you don't have to be a Wiccan to practice it. A lot of people use other deities and things, and, you know, a lot of people are Catholic, Christian, you know, Protestant, whatever, and practice, especially like I said, I've only ever delved into um, nature witchcraft and white witchcraft, which, uh, you know, is, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. I have, I have delved into cleansing witchcraft, which, like, I've unfortunately had to cleanse some negative spirits, which I don't know if that's considered white or gray, but it's still a positive, it's still a good, you know what I mean? You're cleansing negative energies from it's all positivity, you know what I mean? So, but back to the power doctors. So, they practice all sorts of, you know, different, they create like salves and bombs, but it's all from natural herbs and things like that, that they create, you know, that they would grow or purchase and things. So, and my father always used to tell me a story about how when he was a kid, he got whooping cough. Now, he was alive, he was born in 1942, so obviously he was born well before there was a vaccine for whooping cough. Let me get that straight right off the bat. So he unfortunately got whooping cough as a kid, as a very smaller child, and he got really sick. Whooping cough was, and still is, obviously a very bad, what's the right word? Not disease, affliction to get. And he got it, and he got it really bad. And they had taken him to a conventional doctor. And of course, now I understand that now today they have a lot more technology and a lot more treatments for things like this than they did in 1940s, you know. But back then they really didn't have like much to do, and they kind of told my grandparents, well, you know, the best thing you can do, you know, make sure he stays hydrated, make sure he's comfortable as possible, try to get him to sleep. But other than that, it's a crapshoot, you know. He'll either make it through or he won't. So, and of course, then he was getting worse and worse. So my grandparents took him to the powwow to see if they could help, and I guess they gave him some sort of a salve to run. They said some words over him with the stones and blessed him and things like that. And then they gave my grandmother a salve. I know other things they did was like have you bury certain things around your house for negative, if you had negative things happening to you. But I know they gave him a salve to rub on his chest. And of course, it was made from all sorts of natural herbs and things like that. Now, I mean, obviously, I don't know. I was not there. But my grandmother definitely said, she said, I don't think your father would have been around if it wasn't for the powwow, because they said, he was really in a way, he was having trouble breathing. He was turning blue. They didn't really have respirators back then, or not the kind that they do now. So there wasn't anything they could do for him at the conventional doctor, and she's like, look, I don't know for certain, but we took him to the powwow. They said, they blessed him and put words over him, and they gave him the salve to rub on his, they gave the salve to rub on his chest, and she's like, in a couple of days, he really started to improve. Now, take it as you will. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who are going to say, well, he was probably in the worst part and he was getting better. I don't know. I firmly believe that there are things in this world that I don't understand. And there are things in this world that I don't control or don't know how they work. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that did cure my father and that's the reason I'm here today or not. You know what I mean? However, my grandmother was thoroughly convinced of it. My dad always told this story very fondly. I guess he was around 4 or 5, so he remembered the whole thing vaguely, but he remembered it. And of course, people had told him stories about it. So, you know what I mean? So that is what it is. And obviously I grew up, my parents were not, well, my father at least was, had no qualms about things such like that. He was thoroughly convinced the only reason he was still on this earth was because of a powwow, which is essentially a witch. He firmly believed that, and there's things I can't explain in this world. There's things that happen. And as an empathic person, which I definitely am, I can tell you that I can walk into a room and tell you if there's negative energy in there. I can tell you if I'm talking to someone, if their energy is negative, and then they are very draining to speak with, my husband and I were just talking about that over the weekend, about how, like, I'm an extroverted introvert, and how, like, I definitely, and he's the same way, like, he loves DJing, okay? Like, he absolutely loves being a DJ, and he can get up in front of all these people and talk and get people going, have a party. I spent many, many years waitressing and, working with the public, answering phones, talking to people, and I love it, but, like, at the end, like, you gotta have, it's draining on your, as an empathic person, because, like, I've always been the kind of person, like, it always was funny, because, even working, like, as a cashier, right, I would work at the cashier window at the car dealership I worked at on Saturdays sometimes. And customers would come up on occasion and they would just start talking to me. And next thing you know, like, they're telling me their whole life story. This happened to me so many times. I mean, this has happened to me at, like, the line at the grocery store. It's happened to me, like, sitting somewhere by myself, It has happened so many times over the years, I can't even tell you. And people will just start talking to me and telling me their whole life story, or about their problems, or about something that's going on in their life. And at the end, it's always hilarious, because they go, why did I tell you all that? Oh my God. A classic was, I did it to one of my husband's coworkers. My husband's, like I said, I told you before, he's a mechanic, and he has this one coworker, and I won't say his name, but he knows who he is, and He's very like quiet and keeps to himself by a lot of stuff. My husband's friends with him, so uh, but he's he's very he's not outgoing at all. You know what I mean? He's very millennial, keeps to himself, doesn't want blah blah blah. So he had come over to our house to they play this game. Um, I talked about it before. They play with miniatures, and I had made dinner. So when they got time, everybody came up and they got food, and we all sat out back because it was beautiful out and had some food, and everybody started talking. And next thing you know, this person starts telling like his whole life story about his childhood and his parents and things like why everything is like it is, and how it is today, and what kind of relationship he has with his family, and and went on and on. And my husband's sitting there like, and he's telling me everything about his entire life, and at the end he just sits there and goes, why though did I just tell you all? I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. It happens. It happens all the time. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe because I just actually listen. I know you don't know that from this channel because obviously I can't hear you guys. But if I could, I would gladly listen. So, yeah. So, that happens to me all the time. And I love doing it, but it's very draining. As an empathic person, it's, you're you're feeling everybody's feelings all the time. So if somebody is very sad, that's hard. You know what I mean? It really drains me. It doesn't stop me from being there for people, obviously, but it's really hard, especially when it's a loss. I'm really good at being there for, like, trying to let people grieve and things like that, but it's really hard for me. You know what I mean? It's difficult because I feel it. Even if it's not somebody particularly close, I still feel it. You know what I mean? So, like, that's where, there's so much of that out in the world. And I know one of the people that watches the channel that I grew up with, she's always talking about being an empath. And it's true, it's easy to be around. But even people who are like, a lot is a lot when you're an empath. Like, even people who are like, I tears happy, and like too much, that's draining too, because you like feel like you have to, like, it's like a lot of energy coming at you all the time. So like, there's things like that. Like, I can walk in a room and know like what the mood is, you know what I mean? And it can be very draining, and especially like being around like huge crowds of people. I love it. I have no problem going to like places like, crowds. I went to tons of concerts and things like that. But at the end, I'm like drained. like I just need to lay down. Because there's so many people and so much stuff going on, it's a lot. So, yeah, all right, let me pause you for a second here. All right, so my whole point to all this is that, oh my goodness, my hair. My whole point to all this is, I love that witch stuff and witchcraft and things have come full circle, from, like, of course, obviously we had, many, many moons ago, there was a huge, obviously, witch hunts and stuff like that. They went after witches and things like that. And then, of course, I lived through the Satanic Panic, which was fun, when Tipper Gore and them decided that they were going to go against all sorts of things, and everything was witchcraft and Satanism, and oh my lord, it was ridiculous. Actually, um, it couldn't have been further from the truth. But whatever. So, so I lived through that, which was, when they were, which came up today. I was talking to my kid about Ozzy Osbourne, and I said, yeah, like, supposedly if you played some of their records backwards, you could, you were, to hear them talking to the devil. It was ridiculous. It's okay, look, you can go down.
Oh, wow.
Um, and he picked the cat up. She's, so, yeah, so we were, and I love that now that, after that whole satanic panic thing, and then everybody was all like, oh my God, witches, and, I remember, like, and then of course that a bunch of the movies came out, like The Craft and things, and there was all sorts of, later, like, where they were okay, kind of, but like now it's just like fun to be, dressed as a witch and do all these witchy events, and it's like fun and exciting and a little bit new agey again. And because of course I did live through the new age craze in the 90s. Was definitely part of that one. Still am, as obviously, as I wear my key with my stones in. But so I love to see that coming back again. I love to see people embracing it. I love to see people just doing fun witch stuff. It is what you make of it, and it can just be fun, and it is, unless you, let's put it this way, there are negative things that can be done with witchcraft. I'm not going to lie and say there's not. I'm also going to say most witches, people that are consider themselves witches, do not delve into any of those things, in any way, shape, or form. Most of the witches I've ever met burn candles, we burn sage, we burn, we do different things like that, collect herbs for different things. It's, yeah. There is, obviously, but it's like anything else. You can do negative things with anything, with the church. Lord knows. Crusades happen twice, you know what I mean? Like, lots, and that's just one tiny, itty bitty, teeny tiny example. There's been thousands of incidents of things like that over the years. So, I just love that people are like back into like witches and fun, and Halloween is becoming more and more fun anymore. Where, I know at a time it was like, oh, excuse me, a lot of places didn't want to, some different areas like, oh, well, we don't celebrate Halloween. That's the devil's holiday. Although you did hear some of that recently again, which, it's the devil's holiday. No, it's not. It's fun. It's a fun holiday. It's my favorite holiday. So you will be seeing some Halloween stuff on here for sure. So if it's something you're not into, my channel's not for you. Because I have Halloween decorations that don't go away all year. Quite a few of them. As you can see, my living room is mostly Star Wars, but I do have my witchy things throughout the house, here, there, and everywhere. So I am going to keep knitting. Just keep knitting until I finish these. So you'll probably see more of these tomorrow. But I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful Wednesday. Whenever you're watching this. I hope you do something nice for yourself today. I do something that makes you smile. Um, and I hope, yeah, I hope you have, oh my goodness, I don't even know. I'm just going to go. Okay. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope you do something today that makes you smile. I appreciate each and every one of you. That's where I was trying to go. And choose love every day. Bye, everybody.